Okay, today we are back with the tune review. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so stick around. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage, and today we're going to take a look at Christopher's CTSV tune review. He said he's been having some issues with MAF scaling and SD tuning, both causing whenever he goes into the process and copy and paste by half, that it is not working out for him. So we're going to do a scrub through his tune real quick, see if anything stands out that might be causing this issue. There's a couple things that we can look at real quick, and then we'll also look at some of his logs, make sure that the data that's coming in looks good, and so big shout out to Chris. He's one of our patrons over there and uses our service all the time. If you guys are interested in that, check out goatropegarage.com where you can get tuning assistance. And, we're going to be doing some more of these in the future. So if you want a chance to have your tune reviewed on an episode, go check out the Patreon. That's how you find that information. So let's go ahead and... Okay, so we've got one of Chris's CTSV tunes opened up here, and we're going to start in Airflow General. That's where I generally like to start when reviewing some of this stuff. And right away I can see he's got a 2-bar on here. That makes sense. It is a CTSV. Let's look underneath Dynamic. And right away I spot an issue here in that these numbers are not jiving out. And I'll kind of explain why. This is the big thing that we do to switch between high speed, which is mass airflow only, and normal, which would be volumetric efficiency. This is also dynamic airflow. And at a certain point, we have a cutover where we're kind of having dynamic airflow, which is going to be the bottom area where we're at, kind of below, say, 4,000 on most applications. And when that is happening, we have a blend mode between volumetric efficiency and mass airflow, because volumetric efficiency is a little bit better at the lower RPM, especially on healthier cams, things like that. As you get some pulsating air through the intake, it can cause the mass airflow to not read as well, and so it uses a blend mode. And generally there's kind of some stuff that you can look at as far as how it's blended, not necessarily on this platform, but we do have the correction factor here that's going to talk about initial value VE correction factor to the ratio of mass air mass versus VE air mass. Both are calculating air mass. And so if you look at a log, let me pull one up over here, find my cursor. You can have mass airflow here, and then you can have a separate airflow that is not mass airflow. Dynamic airflow, I believe, is what it's called. If we exit out of this, and we've got a Corvette one on here, we can go into our channel selector, and we'll look at for any airflow. So volumetric efficiency airflow on this one, dynamic airflow, that's what I'm talking about. Now, dynamic airflow can be calculated both off of mass airflow or volumetric efficiency, or the blend of both. So that dynamic airflow is taking into account the situation that you're in whenever you're actually doing the pull. If you see high speed, it should match up with your mass airflow exactly. Whenever you're in that dynamic fueling mode, it should have a blend of the two to kind of fall in line based on what we're seeing with our correction factor here. And this is kind of a constant that we don't see things get changed over a lot, but it is a percentage where we're talking about 100% one way, and then we're like 136% in the other way towards VE. And you can see that it is going to be in an area where there might be higher load as we get up to our lower load, lower RPM, stuff like that. We'll focus on the 180 range down here. As our barometric pressure climbs, we're going to move more towards mass airflow being the primary driver of airflow calculation. And that makes sense because the more steady state that the air is, the better the mass airflow sensor works. Now, back to the original issue, though, we've got two numbers in here and they're wrong. And you need to pay attention because based on different year platforms, things like that, you might have a disable and a hysteresis. A lot of them will be disable and re-enable, and effectively what this does is it tells us whenever we want to get out of dynamic airflow mode and go into high speed or mass airflow only mode. And the way this is set up is that we have high RPM disabled at 100, saying that we want to disable dynamic airflow above 100 RPMs. The issue, though, is this one also says that we want to re-enable it below 8 8,000 RPM. So we've got two different things here where one's trying to disable and the other one's trying to re-enable. This is a good time to point out that you have your tech tips down here that say exactly how these things work out most of the time. And it says above this RPM, use filtered air mass. And then it'll say below this RPM, use re-enable the air mass calculation. So on this one, Chris, you want to go in here and lower this below your above set point. Same way, whenever you get around to doing speed density, you're going to want this to be high. We're going to crank this up to 8,000, and then we're going to take this next one down to 7,999, and that's going to disable high speed mode. On top of it, we still need to do the thing where we fail the mass airflow sensor by coming in here, setting this high. And don't forget to adjust your DTCs. We're looking for the P0103. We want to get that check engine light to make sure that we're seeing that the mass airflow sensor is failed, and you should never see a high speed mode on air calculation mode. So let's keep going up. 103 here. Mil on second air. Let's change this to mil on first air. As soon as you start the car up, it should fail. Well, hopefully, Chris, that gets you lined out, and this is a pretty common issue that I see a lot. We want to make sure that we are enabling a mode where everything's going to be disabled properly, so you got to watch those numbers for enable and re-enable and things like that, or disable and re-enable. Make sure they all jive, and you should be good to go from that point on. Let me know if you have any other issues, and as I said, if you're interested in getting some tuning advice, check out the Patreon over at GoatRopeGarage.com. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and drop a subscription, a like if you found this content helpful, and as always, thanks for stopping by the garage. Remember, ABT, always be tuning.